Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a story that has captivated America for over 7 decades. The chilling, unsolved murder of Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia. If you're into true crime, mysteries, and stories that give you goosebumps, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let's get started. The sun had barely risen on that fateful January morning in 1947 when Los Angeles was shaken to its core. The city, known for its glitz and glamour, was unprepared for the horror that awaited in a desolate lot. Lying there was Elizabeth Short, with raven black hair and aspirations that stretched as high as the Hollywood sign. She had come to the city with dreams shimmering in her eyes, dreams of flashing cameras, adoring fans, and a name in shining lights. But those dreams were brutally snuffed out. Elizabeth's lifeless form told a tale of unimaginable cruelty. Her once vibrant body, now mutilated in a manner that words can scarcely describe. The act was not just an assault on Elizabeth, but on the very soul of Los Angeles. It sent ripples of fear, sadness, and disbelief across the nation. The Black Dahlia, as she would soon be known, became an emblem of lost dreams and a city's darkest fears. In the wake of Elizabeth Short's tragic demise, a tidal wave of media attention surged over the nation. The name Black Dahlia became synonymous with mystery, intrigue, and a desperate search for answers. Newspapers, from coast to coast, prominently featured the case on their front pages, each journalist attempting to delve deeper, each headline growing more fervent. As the initial shock of the crime began to settle, the press's role became pivotal. They were the voice of a nation in mourning, a conduit for the collective sorrow and frustration of a public grappling with such a heinous act. With every passing day, their headlines evolved, reflecting the growing desperation for answers. But it wasn't just about selling papers or sensationalism. It was a cry, a plea, a demand for justice. Each article, each piece, was a testament to the societal impact of the Black Dahlia case. Journalists dedicated months, even years, following leads, interviewing potential witnesses, and piecing together the puzzle. Yet, as the years rolled on, those headlines also began to mirror a grim reality, the possibility that the Black Dahlia's murderer might never be found. Despite the best efforts of the media and law enforcement, the case remained shrouded in mystery, with more questions than answers. Year after year, on the anniversary of the discovery, newspapers would revisit the case, reminding the nation of the unresolved tragedy. The Black Dahlia's story became a haunting refrain, a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the enigmatic nature of truth. As investigators scoured through lists of potential culprits, trying to pinpoint who could commit such a vile act, a name began to surface repeatedly: Dr. George Hodel. On the surface, Dr. Hodel was a man of prestige, a renowned physician who had carved a niche for himself in Los Angeles elite circles. His professional success was undeniable, and to many, he was a respected figure in the community. However, as layers began to peel back, a more sinister portrait emerged. Whispers of George's alleged dark tendencies began to circulate. His life outside the confines of his clinic was riddled with secrets, shadows, and suspicions. Stories about his personal escapades painted a picture of a man who might possess the coldness, the precision, and perhaps even the motive to be involved in such a crime. The contrast was striking. How could a man, so accomplished in his professional life, be linked to one of the most gruesome crimes in American history? But as the evidence began to mount, and as more details of his personal life came to light, the possibility became harder to ignore. Dr. George Hodel was no longer just a successful doctor. He was a key figure in the labyrinthine investigation of the Black Dahlia case. And as the city clamored for justice, all eyes began to turn towards him, scrutinizing every facet of his life, trying to find the connection, the motive, the evidence that could solve the haunting mystery of Elizabeth Short's demise. The passage of time often brings clarity, revealing secrets that were once meticulously hidden. Such was the case with the Black Dahlia investigation. Decades after the initial media frenzy and police investigations, a new voice emerged, reigniting interest in the cold case. Steve Hodel, a name intrinsically linked to the prime suspect by blood. Being George Hodel's own son, Steve carried the weight of a legacy, one filled with questions and shadows. But Steve was not just any ordinary son. He was a seasoned detective, trained to seek the truth, no matter how personal or painful. As he delved into his own family's history, Steve stumbled upon unsettling facts, anomalies that he couldn't ignore. The deeper he dug, the more convinced he became that the father he thought he knew was hiding a sinister secret. The pieces of the puzzle started aligning in a way that was both shocking and heartbreaking. Armed with evidence, testimonials, and a detective's keen intuition, Steve Hodel made a bold proclamation to the world. He believed, with a heavy heart and a burdened conscience, that his father, Dr. George Hodel, was the man behind the infamous Black Dahlia murder. The accusations were explosive, the implications vast. A son turning on his father, accusing him of one of the most notorious crimes in history. It was a revelation that would once again thrust the Black Dahlia case into the limelight. prompting a reevaluation of all that was known and all that remained hidden. Behind the polished facade of Dr. George Hodel lay a tapestry of secrets, each thread darker than the last. As investigators, journalists, and even his own family began to pull at these threads, a chilling narrative began to unravel. First, there was the untimely and suspicious death of his secretary, Ruth Spaulding. While the official records cited an accidental overdose, whispers of foul play connected to George echoed in hushed tones. The circumstances surrounding her demise were murky at best, with many believing that the truth had been conveniently buried. But that wasn't the end of the shadows that trailed George. A far more personal and deeply unsettling accusation came to the forefront. His own daughter, Tamara Hodel, brought forth allegations that painted a picture of a deeply disturbed family dynamic. She accused her father of incest, an act that not only shocked the family but the entire community. The trial that ensued was a media circus, with every testimony and piece of evidence dissected by a ravenous public. While George was eventually acquitted, the stain of suspicion never truly left him. The trust, once implicit within the family, was shattered, leaving behind a trail of questions and doubts. George Hodel's life was not one of simple narratives. It was a complex web of achievements and alleged transgressions. And as the layers of his past were peeled back, one couldn't help but wonder, was this the profile of a man capable of committing the Black Dahlia murder? In any investigation, it's often the smallest details, seemingly insignificant on their own, that can paint the most telling picture. For George Hodel, these fragments began forming a mosaic of incrimination. First, there was the black 1936 Packard. Witnesses reported seeing a car of a similar description near the empty lot where Elizabeth Short's body was discovered. It wasn't just any car. It closely resembled George's own vehicle, placing him near the crime scene. Was it mere coincidence, or was there more to the story? Then came the cement bags. These weren't ordinary bags. They bore a striking resemblance to those delivered to George's residence around the time of Elizabeth's disappearance. Even more damning was their proximity to Elizabeth's discarded body. Were they used to transport her? And if so, by whom? But perhaps the most telling sign of all was George's abrupt decision to relocate. Just 3 years after Elizabeth's tragic end, he chose to leave the U.S., settling in the distant Philippines. A new start, miles away from the accusatory glares and relentless questions. Was this a simple desire for a fresh beginning? Or was George Hodel attempting to distance himself from a past that was catching up with him? The evidence was mounting, each piece more incriminating than the last. But in a case as convoluted as the Black Dahlias, nothing was clear-cut. The questions persisted, the doubts lingered, and the hunt for the truth continued. The path to truth is often personal, and for Steve Hodel, it was a journey that led him to the very heart of his family's legacy. Determined to find answers, he delved into a world of shadows, echoes of the past, and unsettling revelation. With a detective's tenacity and a son's need for closure, Steve began piecing together fragments of evidence that had been overlooked or perhaps intentionally ignored. Among his findings were photographs, eerily reminiscent of Elizabeth Short. While they were never conclusively identified as her, the resemblance was uncanny. What were these images doing among his father's possessions? But the photographs were just the tip of the iceberg. Steve's relentless search also led him to transcripts from old police files. These were not just any transcripts. They detailed surveillance conducted on George Hodel's home in the 1950s, conversations that hinted at dark dealings, possible police collusion, and a web of high-status connections that might have shielded George from scrutiny. Every discovery Steve made seemed to draw a tighter noose around the narrative of his father as the potential Black Dahlia killer. Connections, timelines, and testimonies all seemed to converge on a singular, unsettling conclusion. Yet, with every revelation, the weight on Steve's shoulders grew heavier. The duality of his quest was not lost on him. He was searching for justice for Elizabeth Short while simultaneously confronting the possibility that his own father was the perpetrator of such a heinous act. In the sprawling city of Los Angeles, where secrets were traded as currency, George Hodel seemed to have a protective shield around him. Rumors of his connections within the LAPD began to surface, suggesting a deeper, more intricate web of alliances. The very institution that was supposed to uphold justice was now under the scanner. Transcripts from the surveillance on George's residence hinted at more than just idle chatter. They spoke of deals, of understandings, of shadows that operated within the very heart of the police department. Could it be that George Hodel's influence ran so deep that he could manipulate the very forces that should have pursued him? The idea of corruption within the LAPD was not new, but the extent to which it might have played a role in the Black Dahlia case brought forth chilling implication. If George had indeed committed the crime, had he used his connections, and possibly bribery, to ensure his deeds remained hidden? Was the law complicit in shielding a murderer? As the years have passed, the Black Dahlia case has transformed from a heinous crime to a symbol of America's darker underbelly, where fame, crime, and corruption intertwine. Elizabeth Short's haunting image, forever etched in black and white, serves as a poignant reminder of dreams lost and justice denied. While George Hodel's name will forever be linked to the case, definitive proof remains elusive. Theories abound, suspects come and go, but the truth remains shrouded in mystery. And as the annals of history continue to be written, the Black Dahlia case stands as a testament to the complexities of human nature and the enigma of unsolved crimes. Thank you for joining us on this journey into one of America's most enduring mysteries. Remember Elizabeth Short, remember the Black Dahlia, and may we always seek the truth, no matter where it leads.